Okay, this is Dan Land with another episode of the Life of Dan Land. So this is my furnace, and let me make this disclaimer before I share this video with you. I am what you call a licensed environmental protection agency, universal technician on HVAC. So I'm not encouraging or inspiring anyone to try this type of repair without a license. This is a lifetime card. It never expires. Certified Environmental Protection Agency certified technician. I obtained this while I was working at the PO, but it's good for any HVAC. I can work on the biggest companies, the smallest companies, water fountains. If you notice on the back, type 1, type 3, type 2, and type 3. Low pressure, high pressure, small appliances, all three types. So you have different types of license. And this is what you call a universal license. Right now I'm just working on my home. Sometimes I usually just call somebody, but usually when something go out and I feel like tinkering around, metering around, in this case my blower motor has gone out, so I'm going to rip it out, or already ripped it out. I purchased a new one and I'm going to replace it along with the capacitor and see what's going on before this cold weather set in. So right now what I'm gonna do is take this motor right here. If you notice all these wires go to the board. It's a board inside these furnaces, and you gotta hook these wires up a certain way to make sure when you take your motor out, it's always a nameplate on here to stipulate what your motor is and the size of your capacitor. You want to get the right capacitor. Don't get anything less than what it is rated on this plate, or you will have problems with your capacitor. So let's get started and hook the motor up. As you can see, I got my brackets on. So now what I'm gonna do, now that I got my brackets on, we're gonna sit them on these holes and kind of not all the way tight. If you notice, I didn't tighten them all the way up because I want everything to be right when I put it back on the squirrel cage. Okay, so now I got my squirrel cage or my motor in. We're gonna take these 4 bolts here. You notice we got bushings on there for the thrust of the motor. So we're gonna start putting the bolts in so we can get this tight. Then once I get it tight, I'm gonna adjust my bracket so it's nice and even and we won't get no wobble out of my shaft or anything. Okay, so now we got our motor in. So what we're gonna do now, we got that all snugged down. We're gonna snug the top so that bracket can be tight, and then we're gonna flip it over, and then we're gonna balance or center out our squirrel cage. All right. So once you get that motor in there and you got your bracket and everything secure, make sure you got room to balance the squirrel cage. See that nut right there? I got that squirrel cage where I want it to be. Now I'm gonna tighten down on that bolt so that squirrel cage won't move. And be careful with these squirrel cages because these little blades, they can be sharp. What I do, once I get it balanced, I look at both sides, pretty much even spaced, and then I rotate it both directions. Make sure I ain't hearing no rubbing. See how freely that's rolling around there? So that's how it's supposed to roll in there. We don't want that squirrel cage or that motor to move. All right. Next step is to get the squirrel cage back up in this furnace. So I got to bring that board across because I didn't want to take any more wires out than I had to. So this is like your control board here. The only thing I had to remove was some wire ties. But I always take a picture of my board before I do anything, just in case something come loose or you drop the squirrel cage and knock all the wires off. You gotta know where they go. All right, okay, next step, get the squirrel cage back in there. See now, to get that squirrel cage in there, if you look, they make it convenient for you. On both sides of this chamber is 2 little slots. Once I get the tips, like right here, the 2 tips of this squirrel cage up in there, it slides in like butter. Unlike back in the day, you had to prop it up and try to hold it while you get the nuts straight. And oh man, it used to give you time. But what I gotta do is get my squirrel cage started and bring my control board over the top, so I won't have to clip no wires. All right, so we're ready to do that, and then we'll get our squirrel cage in and come back to you. Do it. As you can see, once those 2 lips line up, and I got my board and everything over there, all I gotta do now is just take these 2 rails, and to show you how easy it is now, slide that in there. See these 2 holes right here? That's where we're gonna put our bolts back in. They're going right here on this rail. Okay, so as you can see, they're going right here on this rail. Those 2 rails you saw me with my hands on, they're going right there. Okay, blower motor in, and everything's fine. Everything is in there. The rails and stuff is all lined up right. I'm gonna reach my hand in here before I start hooking up all this other stuff. And I'm gonna get that 1 more rotation. But like I say, always be careful with that squirrel cage, because those fins are sharp. Make sure it's clean before you put it back in there. So a lot of times you see where that filter is, it'll get clogged up, it's dusty, or that motor will get packed with a whole lot of stuff when you don't use a filter, and it'll get in that motor and it'll clog it up. It'll mess it up. Yeah. Sometimes that's why they burn out. All right, but anyway, now I'm gonna hook my control board back up to, I'm gonna put my capacitor on first, because as you see, it's a bracket. Usually when you mess with these, you taking them out, always make sure you discharge across the top in case it's charging. These can still electrocute you, even though they don't have any power on them. See the little slot there? That's where that capacitor's gonna go. So we're gonna put that little lip in there. Let's see, we hook that little lip in there, and then it's a screw at the bottom. Okay, we got our capacitor in, we got our 2 brown wires on. Squirrel cage, so now we're finna put our board back onto the blower frame. Got our motor in and squirrel cage. We got our capacitor hooked up. Now this is our board, and we're gonna hook our speeds. As you see right here, we're gonna hook our wires up to our board. Now what I normally do is I take a picture, so don't try to memorize these wires, which some of us are good enough to do, but just in case, I normally take a picture of my board and I write down where my wires were. That's why I like to get the exact same motor that came out, so I know exactly where my wires go on my board. So we're gonna hook our wires up now, and then we're gonna see if this thing works. Peace. Okay, that was the last leg. We got everything hooked up. So now you see this switch here, when you take this door off, that's a kill switch for safety purposes. And a lot of times, you know, us technicians, we'll put a screw or something in here when we want to test it. So right now, what I want to do is test it. So the first thing you look for when you're trying to test your system is to see if this board give you the signal. I'm gonna look for a green, faintly flashing light to see if it gives me the signal that everything on the board is good. And then you're gonna hear my blower motor and everything kick in, my capacity and everything is straight. So let's see what's happening. See that light came on? And then you hear that blower motor kick in. So you got a sequence of operation and process. So now that I know that this is running, what I'm gonna do is wire tie everything and then put this back in source. Now, okay, as you see, I got everything tie wrapped nice and neat now. No wires just hanging. You're gonna have wires hanging down in your chamber, but you wanna make sure that chamber is clean. Make sure you got a clean filter in there. Nice clean filter. You want everything to stay clean. So everything is ready to roll. We're gonna put our door back on, and then we'll be ready to party hearty. All right, peace. Okay. What you always want to do when you finish is clean up your area. Put everything back where it go. I like to keep my tools clean. Always mechanics like to keep their tools clean if they really want to do a superb job. So this is really for people who think that blue collar or tradesmen. This is how I made my living over the years: trades, video, technology, but mainly trades. Whether it's electro-hydraulics, body and fender on cars, auto mechanic, industrial electricity, HVAC. I got 5 trades, and I also have some formal education. I'm finishing up my degree now in theater. That's just something I want to do as a hobby in my golden years. I'm a senior. I mean senior in 2 ways, senior. So I only got a few more credits to go, and then I'll be having a BA. Well, that's pretty much it on how to fix a furnace, or play with your own furnace, or make sure you save some money and not have people come in and rip you off. By no means am I encouraging or inspiring anyone to work on a furnace without a license, without understanding the safety precautions necessary to work on a furnace. I was just sharing with you the day, or a day in the life of Dan Lan. I just like to do so many different things, and I try to encourage and inspire people. Whatever your dream is, pursue it, go after it. Never tell yourself that what you can't do. You can do anything you want to do. Okay, that's my disclaimer. Do not work on a furnace without some knowledge of safety knowledge, or a license of some kind, or some education in the trade of HVAC. All right, thank you. I hope you appreciate me sharing this video with you. All right, peace.